Now we're going to do a character analysis. One of my favorite characters in this book was Annie. I thought to myself, you know, in the other Magic Treehouse books that we have read, we have always said that Jack is a thinker. He's thoughtful. He's cautious and careful. He likes to read the books. He likes to learn about things. He likes to take notes. He's not going to jump in. He's going to think about it first, make a plan. Annie, on the other hand, we know that she just likes to jump in and do it. She's a doer. If Jack is a thinker and a planner, she's a doer. She's not so cautious about jumping in to take a risk or have an adventure. She also has a really big heart. She loves to help others. So I knew a little bit about Annie from the other Magic Treehouse books. But in this book, I thought to myself, wow, Annie really is important. And I thought, you know, I'm going to start by making a list of all of the things that Annie did in the story that I thought were important. So I started at the very beginning of the book. And as I flipped through the book, look at this list I came up with. So Annie is the one who wished for them to go to Camelot. Annie is the one who volunteered for the quest. She is the one who got on the white stag first and then told Jack to climb on the white stag. She's the one who found the iron gate. She's the one who figured out the cloak of invisibility. She's the one who thought to be the wind and said, whoosh. She's also the one who found the 3 missing knights. She also recognized the problem with the dance circle and got Jack out. She's the one who figured out how to use the 3 gifts from the rhymes. She's the one who found the secret door of the cave, of the crystal cave. She's the one who had the idea to drink the water of memory and imagination. She's the one who imagined how to defeat the dragons. She's the one who knew to be careful with the goblet of water. She trusted Jack with the goblet. She gave the cloak to the stag. She had the idea to put a drop of the water on each of the frozen people back in Camelot. And she's the one who wished for them to come home back to Frog Creek. So these are actual things that Annie did in the story. When we are looking at things that a character did, that is evidence. That's this word right here, evidence. Evidence is the proof. So if I want to say that Annie is brave, the question is, really? What has she done that's brave? How can you prove it? What is your evidence? Evidence are the actual things that you can point to and say, this proves it. This is the evidence. This is the proof. Another word here would be the proof. The verb would be proves. Proves whatever we want to say. We have to look at the evidence. So this is kind of step 1. I just look at all of the things. If you want to do a character analysis, pick your character and then look at all of the things that that character does in the story. And then start to ask yourself, what kind of person would do these things? So I thought to myself, okay, well, she does a lot of different things in the story. Some of the things that she does shows me that she's a really brave person. She's courageous. I also thought about how compassionate she is, how much she desires to help others. And I thought about making this one helpful. You know, but I think that her bravery and her courage come from her desire to help others. I think that motivates her. I also felt that when she found things, that's because she was observant. She noticed things with her eyes. She was paying attention. So that's attentive and observant. And also she figured out a lot of things, you know, how the cloak works, for example. That would be a thinker, someone who's a creative thinker, who's good at thinking and puzzling and figuring things out, solving problems, a problem solver. So these were some of the character traits that I came up with as I looked at the evidence. So then the next thing we need to do is for each of these character traits, say, okay, looking back at all of that evidence, which of those things prove the bravery, which prove that she's observant, and which prove that she's a problem solver? So what that would look like here is to take my 3 sections, the bravery, the being observant, and the being a problem solver. And then I'm going to look at the evidence that I came up with, and I'm going to move it. So let's see what that would look like. Well, she's the one that volunteered for the quest. I think that shows bravery. She found the iron gate. That's observant. She figured out the cloak of invisibility. That's being a problem solver. She found the 3 missing knights. She encouraged Jack 2 times by telling him to think of Morgan. I think that was being a problem solver. She knew Jack needed help. She figured out how to use the gifts. She found the secret door. I think that's being observant. She had the idea to drink the water of memory and imagination. I think that's also being a problem solver, coming up with ideas. She imagined how to defeat the dragons. I think this is both being a problem solver and being brave, because her idea took a lot of bravery. So I think I will duplicate this one and put it in both places. She knew to be careful with the goblet of water. I'm going to put that here. She was thoughtful about that. She trusted Jack with the goblet. She gave the cloak. You know, I'm thinking that I need a 4th. When I think about how she trusted Jack and she gave the cloak to the stag, I'm kind of thinking this is showing some examples of being thoughtful and kind and helpful. She had the idea to put a drop on each of the frozen people. That's being a problem solver. She wished for them to come home, and she wished for them to go to Camelot. I'm not sure where to put those. The wind, I think, would be a problem solver. She climbed on the white stag and told Jack to climb on the white stag. I think that's being brave. She recognized the problem with the dance circle and got Jack out. I think that is recognizing the problem as being observant. Getting Jack out took some thinking and problem solving. So this is the kind of thinking that I'm doing as I have taken all of the things that she's done, all of the evidence, and I have put it into, shown it to be evidence of these different character traits. Because different things will show bravery than being a thoughtful problem solver, or being observant, or being thoughtful. So here I see that I put the being careful with the goblet. The first time I did this, I put being careful with the goblet up here at being thoughtful. Trusting Jack, I put here being thoughtful and kind, giving the cloak to the stag. So for being brave and courageous, I had volunteering for the quest, getting on the white stag, imagining how to defeat the dragons. For being observant and attentive, the evidence is finding the iron gate, finding the missing knights, recognizing the problem with the dance circle, and finding the secret door. The evidence for being a problem solver or a creative thinker is figuring out that the cloak is a cloak of invisibility and how it works. The wind that says whoosh and how they got through that iron gate. Encouraging Jack here when he was stuck, encouraging him to do it for Morgan, think of Morgan. That really helped him with his problem. Figuring out how to use the gifts that were given to them by the knights. the idea to drink the water of memory and imagination, imagining how to defeat the dragons, and the idea to put a drop on each of the frozen people. That was some real good problem solving that Annie did. So I also added this fourth one of being thoughtful and kind, and I wasn't quite sure where to put the things that she did about, she was the one who wished for them to go to Camelot and wished for them to go back to Frog Creek. So this is sort of the next step for making a character analysis. As soon as you have done that, you can choose, do you want to pick one of these boxes, focus only on one trait, and write one paragraph? Or you could pick three of them and write what we call a 5-paragraph essay, where you would describe the evidence for 3 different character traits. Well, whether we're doing it for 1 paragraph or 5 paragraphs, we can use the 4 square. If we are doing it for 1 paragraph, the order that we will go in is the center, and then this will be the next sentence, the 3rd sentence, the 4th sentence, and the 5th sentence. For each of these boxes, we might have more than 1 sentence, especially if we are giving an example or explaining it a little bit, but we will go in this order, and we should be able to do it in 1 paragraph. Okay, so to do the 1 paragraph, I'm going to pick the square about Annie being a problem solver. Another way to say that is that she is a creative thinker. Someone who can think creatively is someone who can come up with ideas, who can use their imagination. So they are imaginative, and they can imagine and come up with different ideas to solve a problem. Oftentimes, we need more than one way to solve the problem. And then we can, if one way is not working, we have a backup plan. So then I'm going to look back at the page where we had talked about the evidence, the things that Annie did that prove she's a problem solver. Okay, so she figures out how to use the cloak of invisibility and how to use the gifts given to them by the knights. She also has ideas and uses her imagination. Her ideas were to drink the water of memory and imagination, to put a drop of the water on the frozen people, and the idea for how to defeat the dragons. She also knows how to motivate others or to help them solve their problems. Jack had a couple problems that he really needed some help with. And Annie knew that by saying, do it for Morgan, remember Morgan, we're here to help Morgan. That was really important for Annie to say that, because it allowed Jack to be able to do what he needed to do. I remember those 2 things that I wasn't quite sure where to put, that Annie had wished for them. She's the one that wished for them to go to Camelot and wished for them to go home. And I'm still not quite sure what to do with it, but I'm going to put them here and think maybe I can somehow mention them in my conclusion. But I usually in a conclusion, we're not giving any new details. But I'm going to jot them down here in the square just in case I can figure out how to use them. Okay, so now the 4 square is done. And all I have to do is write my sentences and put them in order for number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. So let's see how that looks. It's going to be green, purple, orange. So here it is. You can see I have green at the beginning, purple in the middle, orange at the end. Now I could have done here what I did with the summary and introduced the title of the story up here in red and brought it to a conclusion down here in black. But I've kind of combined that red and green together here by introducing the title of the story here. And I have my as you can see conclusion right here. So let's read this together. In the Magic Treehouse story, Christmas in Camelot, Annie is a character who is very good at solving problems. Okay, so I've introduced the name of the story, the character, and her character trait that I'm going to be providing evidence of. I am not retelling the story here from beginning to middle to end. I am going to mention the specific things that Annie did in the story that prove she's good at solving problems. So I'm not talking about the things that show she's brave or kind or thoughtful or observant. I'm looking specifically at the things that show that she is good at solving problems and coming up with ideas. For example, she figured out that the cloak could make them invisible, and she figured out what the gifts from the knights were for. Also, here's a transition to the next point I want to make, the next piece of evidence. Also, she had ideas about how the water of memory and imagination could help them get past the guardians, and how it could help those frozen in Camelot. In addition, another transition, she could see the problems that Jack was having, and she knew that encouraging him to think of Morgan would help him. Not only was Annie the one who figured out how to get Jack and herself from Frog Creek to Camelot and back again, but she solved a lot of problems during their quest. As you can see, Annie is a creative thinker and problem solver. So when we're looking at this, I want to just point out a couple things. First, we want to make sure that we have a nice straight margin coming down the left side of the page. We want to make sure that the very first line is indented. This space right here is called the indent. And you can see that I've used transition words to help us. This transition moves to the first piece of evidence in that top left square. That's the square right. The square right here. This is the square about things that she can figure out. This is the one about her ideas, and this is the one about helping Jack. So let's go see. So for example, the things that she can figure out, and then we transition also to the square about her ideas, and then we transition to the next square, which is about helping Jack. This part here where I said, not only was Annie the one who figured out how to get Jack and herself from Frog Creek to Camelot and back again, that's kind of how I snuck in that piece. I sort of used it as a transition from the evidence, even though it's kind of more evidence, but I'm transitioning it from the purple evidence part into my conclusion here, where you can see where I really bring it to a conclusion. I say she solved a lot of problems during their quest. And then I have one more transition. As you can see, is really the transition to the conclusion, where I say again that she's a creative thinker and a problem solver. So I remind the reader of the character trait. So that is both at the beginning I say she is a character who is very good at solving problems. And in the conclusion, I say she is a creative thinker and a problem solver. So both when I'm introducing the paragraph and when I'm bringing it to a conclusion, I remind the reader that this is the character trait that this paragraph is about. And in purple is the evidence that proves that Annie has this character trait. She can prove it or show it through her actions, through things that she has done. Okay. Now, remember I said we could also do 5 paragraphs on the character analysis. So here, I could come back and say, all right, I'm going to do these three. The one about being brave, the one about being observant, and the one about being a problem solver. I'm going to have the evidence to support or prove each one. So here for the four square, you can see that I have each square is a different color. Now remember that I follow things red, green, purple, orange, black, back when we did the summary, right? It was the green, purple, orange for the beginning, middle, end. And then we had the red at the beginning to introduce it and the black at the end to bring it to a conclusion. When you're doing a 5-paragraph essay, here's the word essay, your first paragraph is going to be this one, and then the second paragraph, third paragraph, fourth paragraph, and fifth paragraph. So let's see what that would look like. Well, I'm going to list the 3 character traits I want to talk about for Annie. One is being brave, that will be in the green square. One is being observant, that will be in the purple square. One is being a creative thinker or problem solver, and that will be in the orange square. And then I fill in my evidence. So the evidence for being brave is that she volunteered for the quest, told Jack to climb on the white stag, and imagined how to defeat the dragons. And then I add my evidence for what did Annie do that proves she was observant and attentive? Well, she's the one who found the iron gate. She's the one who found the 3 missing knights. She's the one who recognized the problem with the dance circle. And she's the one who found the secret door. And then I go to my orange paragraph and I say, what's the evidence that proves that she is a good problem solver? Well, we know this one really well because we just did the 1 paragraph on this one. And then for our conclusion, I like to start with, as you can see, Annie's actions prove that she is, in your conclusion, it's a good idea if you can mention those 3 categories or 3 character traits that you were talking about in your paper. So here you can see in green, this word courageous is another word for being brave. Being attentive is another word for being observant. And problem solving in orange is another word for being a creative thinker. So the words I use in the beginning and the words I use in the conclusion are different, but they have the same meaning. So I'm reminding the reader that in this paper, in this essay, I am providing evidence that proves that Annie is brave or courageous, that's from the green square, observant or attentive, that's from the purple square, or a creative thinker or problem solving, that's from the orange square. So my concluding sentence is, as you can see, Annie's actions prove that she is a courageous, attentive, and problem-solving kind of person. These qualities, in the last video, we talked about this word quality. A quality of a person is another word for a characteristic of that person. Something about like a character trait of that person. These qualities are inspiring. Inspiring means it makes us say, wow, it makes us impressed. It kind of also sets an example for us, and we might think, you know, I want to be like that too. You can see here with the green, purple, and orange, this is a list or series of 3 things. And so we have a comma after the first one, a comma after the second one, then the word and then our third one. So here we have the 4 square filled out, and it's ready for us to make our 5-paragraph essay. And this is what it looks like. So we have these 5 colors, from the red to the green to the purple to the orange to the black. The red one came from the center square, introducing the name of the story, the character we are analyzing, and the 3 character traits that we are going to be providing evidence for. The first character trait and its evidence, the second character trait and its evidence, the third character trait and its evidence, and then our conclusion, where we remind the reader of what those 3 traits were that we were talking about in this paper. So this is an example of what we call the 5-paragraph essay. A 5-paragraph essay. Okay, well, let's read it together, and we should recognize these things from the Foursquare. In the Magic Treehouse story, Christmas in Camelot, Annie proves herself to be brave, observant, and a creative thinker. To begin with, this is my transition to the first character trait. To begin with, Annie is very brave. She is the one who volunteered for the quest. She also is the one who first got on the white stag. Last, her idea for getting around the dragon-like guardians was to fight their blue fire with purple flame. So I had 3 pieces of evidence in there that proved that she is brave. Also, this is my transition to the next character trait, as well as the indent right here. Also, Annie is very observant. For example, she is the one who found the iron gate, the 3 missing knights, and the secret door. Did you see that list of 3 things? The first one, comma, second one, comma, and the third one. She also observed that the 3 knights were looking ill and that it was somehow caused by the dancing circle. She noticed that Jack was falling under the same spell, and that observation helped her to rescue him. So those were the things that Annie did that proved she was observant. Now we have our transition to the third character trait. Additionally, Annie is a creative thinker. She is the one who figured out how to use all of the gifts mentioned in the rhymes. Also, she is the one who had ideas about how the water of memory and imagination could be used to help them. Lastly, she helped solve Jack's problems by encouraging him to think of Morgan. So remember, when we were providing evidence of being a problem solver, we had things that she figured out, ideas that she had, and the way that she helped Jack. So when we are giving the 3 pieces of evidence in each of these paragraphs, we also have transitions inside the paragraph. You can see, for example, I have also here, and I have lastly here. Those are transitions inside the paragraph that help the reader understand we're going from one piece of evidence to another one to another one. And then for our conclusion, as you can see, I like to use this transition to my conclusion. Annie's actions prove that she is a courageous, comma, attentive, comma, problem-solving kind of person. These qualities make her an inspiring character. So there is my 5-paragraph essay analyzing the character of Annie.